In this video, I will teach you one new tool that you probably don't know about yet in Alteryx, and it is in the reporting category. It's the interactive chart tool. So I've made it a favorite, and this tool is a tool you can use to make a bar chart or a pie chart or other various types of charts so that you can visualize your data. And this tool is especially useful if you want to make a presentation of your data to someone else and basically show them the key insights that they need to see from your data quickly. We all have heard a picture is worth 1,000 words, and just showing them, a table of numbers might not make the point that you're trying to make to them as clear as if you showed them that same table but visualized in a bar chart or a pie chart. And so that's what the interactive chart tool is used to do. So let's bring in the data. So input data tool, we're going to bring in the data set that we've been working with lately, this ending inventory data set. Bring in a browse tool. Let's run the workflow. So this data should look familiar to you. This is the inventory as of June 30th, 2016 for this fictitious wine and spirits retailer. So they sell alcohol. They're a retailer. They buy the alcohol, and then they mark up the price and sell it to the end consumer. So each row of this data set has the item that's in their inventory as of June 30th, 2016. What store what first of all, the description of the item, what brand number the item is, what store that item is in, and then right here we have the city that store is located in. And then here we have the size of bottle they sell that item in. Most commonly, wine is sold in 750 milliliter bottles. So most of these will say 750 milliliters. Although they don't just sell wine, they sell other things as well. You can see vodka and Crown Royal and all this stuff. But this is the number of bottles they have on hand. This is what they charge their customers to purchase one bottle from them. And this is the price that they have to pay when they buy one bottle from their supplier. So let's suppose you have to make a presentation. You're an employee at this company. You're an accountant, let's say, and you have to make a presentation to the CEO or to the CFO. And what they want to know is, how are our stores doing in terms of profit? In other words, if we were to sell, let's say, all these items at the end of this that we have at the end of June, if we were to sell all of them next month, what would our total profit be by store? So which stores would be doing the best, which stores would be doing the worst, and which stores would be kind of in the middle? And you have to make this presentation to them. So the tools I've already taught you, you could figure out the total profit by store. We're first going to create a total profit variable, which will just be the difference between the sales price and the purchase price multiplied by the number of units on hand. And that'll get the total profit for each line item. And then we can use a summarize tool and group by store and sum that total profit variable by store. And that will produce a table where we'll have store and the total profit for each store. But if you just gave that table to your supervisors, there's, as you're going to see, there's 79 different stores, and so it's going to be a lot of numbers there, and they can't quickly pick out from that table which stores are doing the best. So a better thing to do is, once you create that table, which gives the total profit for each store, then use an interactive chart tool and put that data into a bar graph or to a pie chart so that it's easy to visualize. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So let's first attach a select tool, and let's change the data types for these three variables here to a numeric data type, say double, because we want to do arithmetic operations on these three variables. Next, let's bring in a formula tool. Let's create a new variable called profit. And profit is just going to be the difference between sales price and purchase price multiplied, so this quantity multiplied by the number of units on hand. And we want profit to be a numeric variable because we're going to sum profit. So let's attach a browse tool and run this part of the workflow, run the workflow as we have it now, and you'll see we have this profit variable. So we can check if we take this price minus this price and multiply that, that's the profit per 1 unit, right? And multiply that by 12, we get our total profit if we were to sell all 12 of these units. All 12 of these 750 milliliter bottles of Gekaiken Black and Gold Sake, which is brand number 58 in store 1, and that store is in Hardersfield. Our profit would be this number, and then so forth. So now what we want to do is we want the total profit for store 1, the total profit for store 2, and so forth. So to do that, we use the summarize tool as I've taught you in a previous video. We want to group by store. So choose store, go down here to group by, and then grouping by store, we want to take this profit variable and we want to sum it. Notice we've made profit a double variable right here in the formula tool. It's a numeric variable, so we can actually sum it. If we had not made profit a numeric variable, then this sum thing right here would be grayed out. We wouldn't be able to take the sum of a string variable, only of a numeric variable. Let's attach a browse tool, and then let's run this. Let's look at the results. So we can see here, here's our store, and here's our sum profit. But it's not easy to see which store has the highest profit or which stores have the lowest profit. So what we're going to do is let's first sort this data by store. So sort by store in ascending order. Let's run this. Let's look at the output. So now it's sorted by store. Of course, we could sort this data by the sum profit variable, and then the stores with the highest profit will be at the top if we sorted in descending order. If we sorted in ascending order, the stores with the highest profit would be at the bottom. We could do that, but there's 79 stores here, and the data is not, you don't present data in a presentation in tabular form when there's this much data. You present it in a picture. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So let's make a bar graph. On the x-axis, we'll have the store number, and on the y-axis, we'll have the sum of profit. And we'll have a bar that goes up to the sum of profit. And then you can visually see which bars are the highest on that bar graph, and you can quickly see which stores are the best versus which stores are the worst. So to do that, use an interactive chart tool. So bring in the interactive chart tool. Again, it's in the reporting category. It's right here. I've made it a favorite. So bring it in and attach it here, and then we're going to go and configure our chart. You'll see this open up. This is the default configuration. We want to add a layer. So we'll add a layer. We'll title our chart bar chart. Now what type is our chart going to be? These are the various types that you can make. So we're going to make a bar chart. On the x-axis, we want the store variable. And on the y-axis, we want this total profit variable. And there we go. So right away, we can quickly see, you know, this store right here, and if you hover over the bar, it's store 34. They had the highest. They would have the highest profit if they sold all of their items on hand relative to any other store. Store 67 here would be second, and store 76 would be third. And it looks like the worst store is store 46 down here. So let's reformat this chart to make things look a little more visually appealing. Let's first give it a title. So come up here to the white space and click here, and let's enter a title. Total profit by store. If all items on hand were sold. And then click somewhere out here. And there's our title. Now right here is what's known as the legend. We can click this and move the legend around. Notice if we move it too far, it starts to disappear. because there is an inherent size to our chart, and if we go past that size, we don't see this legend anymore. So sometimes you want the legend. For pie charts, you want the legend almost always. But for bar charts, you don't really need the legend, so we want to get rid of this. So the way to get rid of this is just go down here. You see we're here on the layer category. Go down here to the legend. You see in the style. Down here in the style, we can change various things. We can change the global font of everything. We can change various things about the axes and so forth. We can change the chart. In other words, we can change various things about the dimensions and stuff like that. But let's go to the legend here and let's change, let's hide the legend. So hide it so you don't see it anymore. Next, let's change the name of our y-axis, and our x-axis is named appropriately, but let's change the fonts of these things, or change them to bold fonts. So go to axes, and then by default everything is not collapsed. So I'm going to collapse everything. So these are the options we have with axes. So first, for the titles of the axes, for X we want to make it, it's already stored, that's fine, let's make it bold font. You can see it changed to bold font. And then for Y, let's change Y to total profit, and in parentheses we'll say dollars and thousands, so that whoever's reading this chart or looks at it realizes that the y-axis is in thousands. Actually, it's in millions, not thousands. So dollars, millions, is in millions of dollars. All right, let's go to our display range. Let's see, what do we want to do? We can display auto, custom. Usually auto is fine for this, for the x-axis. And then for the y-axis, we can do a custom. $0 is the minimum, and then $1,105,464 is the maximum. That must be this bar, but we could change the minimum and maximum for the y-axis here, and we can change the minimum and maximum for the x-axis here. I usually don't do that, though. I usually just keep the display range auto for both x and y. Now lines, we can show grid lines for x and y, or we could hide grid lines. We could hide the axis line. I usually just keep this as the default, just hide the grid lines. Now labels. For X, we do want to change the labels down here, the store numbers. Not all the store numbers are showing up, and it's usually when you have lots of things on the lots of labels on the x-axis. You might want to add an angle to the items. Then more items can be displayed. So let's change the angle to 45 degrees. We can also change the font of the labels. We can change the size of the labels. You can see here they get bigger and bigger. And then we can change the spacing. Auto is usually what I keep it on. But you can see here, we can't see all the store numbers, right? We see 1, but we don't see the label 2 and 3. We see 4, we don't see 5 and 6. It's because we just don't have enough space. So let's fix the space problem on our chart. It looks like we need to add width to our chart. Height is fine, but width, we need to add width. So go to chart. So we're done here with the axes. Let's go to chart. And we have display and we have title. We've already changed the title of the chart. Let's highlight the title and make it bold font. So that made that bold font up there. So title's fine. Now the display. The width of our chart. In pixels and inches. I think of inches. So let's go to inches and we'll make the width 20. And the height can stay 11.8. Now you can see all of the labels on the x-axis. You can see all the store numbers. Now I get it. If you have, 1,000 labels, you're not going to be able to see all of them. You'd have to make the chart, a width of 50 feet, and that's not going to be displayable unless you make the font like 2-point font, and then nobody would be able to see anything. So I get that. But at least with this many labels, we can see all of them. And that's everything in the chart category. The font, you can change the global font here. So it changes the font. If you notice here, it's changing the font of everything except the x-axis labels. To change the font of the x-axis labels, you actually have to go to axes and change the font of the labels manually that way. But this will change the font of everything else, as you can see. All right, the final thing I want to show you here is to add a note. So suppose we want the user to hone in on, whoever's looking at this, we want them to hone in on the top three stores, and also the worst store, as you can see, is 46. The top three stores are 34, 67, and 76. And you want to highlight that. I mean, I realize they can look down at the label and see, but suppose it's harder for them to see that, so you want to highlight that fact. So go to Notes, hit Note. As soon as you hit Note, you see this comes up. Let's move the note to, let's say, to right here. Then we can hover over this and move this any way we like this, as you can see. And let's just say, I don't know, first total profit. And we can make it bold font. We can change the size of our label, or size of our note. And we can change the size of our arrow as well, down here. We could change the angle. See? By default, it's to angle 0, and that's fine usually. Now let's add a second note. What did I make this first note's font? 19? We don't need it 19. 16 is fine. We'll be consistent. And then let's add a third note. And then let's put that right here. And maybe make the font 16 like we made the other ones. And then finally, let's add a fourth note, and this will be the worst one. And we can put that maybe here and drag this up here. So the CEO or whoever's in charge of making decisions for this company may want to consider giving a bonus to these stores managers and maybe getting rid of this store. It's not making very much profit relative to the other stores. Or in terms of, if they were give a bonus to every store, they have a total bonus pool of $1 million. We can see that, these three stores should get more of that $1 million than any of these other ones, and this store should get the least amount of the bonus. So yeah, so that's the bar chart. Now let me show you how to make a pie chart. So all you have to do is just close this, and our bar chart is there. If you want to see the bar chart, you can just click on this again, go to Configure Chart, and it's right there. Now we can save our chart template. We can go to Templates, we can save our chart, bar chart, and save if we want to. Now we can view this another way. We can go to a Browse tool and attach it. Let's run our workflow. We can view our bar chart by going in there, or we can view our bar chart by hitting the Browse tool and looking at it right here. But then I'm going to have to make this really big so that we can see the entire chart. And we can export this to, there's a way to export this to a PDF format by using the render tool, which is in the reporting category. You would just go here to render, and you would render this output mode. PDF document is fine, but not temporary PDF. We want to choose a specific output file. Output file, we'll just call it bar chart, and we can decide where we want this file to go. We can say desktop. Save it as a PDF. Like that. That PDF, though, we probably want it to be landscape because we have such a wide chart. So we'll make it landscape. And then that's it. And then if we run this workflow, it creates, every time we run the workflow, it creates this bar chart, and it creates a PDF on our desktop right here of that chart. So we can go on our desktop, we can look, we can open this up, and you'll see there's our bar chart. And we can make it bigger or smaller. So yeah, the render tool is powerful. I didn't know I was going to teach you that in this video, but yeah, the render tool is how you can render the chart out to a PDF format or to a Microsoft Word document format or to any format you really want. If we go back here, we can do it as all these formats, even an image format, so forth. So, all right, let's teach you how to do a pie chart of this same data. So bring another interactive chart tool in, attach it to our data here, and instead of bar chart, we're going to go to configure. We're going to make a pie chart. Now, one thing to keep in mind, we can go to template, and we already have our bar chart template saved. So if we always do bar charts, we have a template, we can just open this up and it'll open up our template. So we don't have to always change the axis fonts and all that stuff. If we have a set template that we like, then we can use our template. But I'm going to get rid of this template here since we don't need this. But let's go to layer. Let's add a layer. We'll call it pie chart. What type do we want? We want a pie chart. Now, our labels are going to be the store numbers, and our values are going to be the sum profit. So this is the default pie chart. It by default makes the legend vertically oriented. But as you can see, since we have so many categories, we have 79 different stores, so that's 79 different pieces of pie. We probably want to make this legend horizontal. So let's go here to our legend, and then we could hide the legend altogether, but then we don't know which store is which, unless you hover over it, of course. But you can't hover over it if you're looking at a PDF of this thing. So we do want to show the legend, but let's make the orientation of it horizontal. So we'll put it down here. I realize some of the legend is actually disappearing from our chart when we drag it down, but we'll fix that. Let's put that down there. Actually, we'll keep it right there for now. All right, with a pie chart, if we go to axes, there are no axes, as you can see. We can go to chart, though. We can make the size of our chart, let's see. Maybe the height we need to make a little bit taller. 15 inches. What did that do? That did something. That gave us room here to put our legend. All right, let's go to, let's see, do we want to change anything else? Oh, we can give the chart a title, or we can give it a title by clicking up here. Let's give the chart a title, total profit by store. Let's bold that title. So there should be a title now. If we scroll up to the top, it says total profit by store. Let's go to layer, and as you can see, each slice of the pie by default is given. We have the percentage on the slice, or we should have the percentage. There we go. And what that percentage is, as you can see, store 34 had this much profit, $1,050,191.25, and that represents 4.31% of all the store's profits total. So the percent by default is on each label, And the reason that these smaller pieces, their percentages isn't on the piece like these other pieces is because they're just so small. The percentages don't fit. The font size doesn't fit on there. Now we can make the font size smaller globally. We go here and make it smaller, and you can see the percentages start to fit on the pieces, but then you can't see the percentages. So in this particular instance, um, you're going to probably not want to make a pie chart when you have 79 different pieces of pie. You probably want to make a bar chart. But when you say have 10 categories or 5 categories, it makes sense to make a pie chart, and all these percentages will be on the actual pieces, and it won't look so weird like this. And then the legend will be more easily readable. We could take away the percentages here. We could put the values on. That's the actual total profit, not the percentages. But percentages by default is there. We could also put the labels on the pieces, but we have a legend, so we don't really need to put the labels on the pieces. We could, though, and we can get rid of our legend. That may make more sense in this particular instance to get rid of the legend and just put the labels on the pieces. But yeah, so there's not as much configuration when it comes to the pie chart as there is with the bar chart. But that's basically it for the pie chart. We can add a note if we want. We can put a note here. We can say, you can see our note by default goes there. We can give it a title. We can say store 34 was best, or something like that. And then we can move this to like here, and then move this around as we've shown you already. We can change the size of our label, the size of our arrow if we want here. But yeah, so that concludes this video.